Welcome everybody to the Funnel Brand Podcast. I'm telling you, I live in Omaha, Nebraska, but something keeps pulling me back to Florida. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's this whole entire AI buzz, and it just magnetizes me back to the Florida area. We're going to be talking to Wilfred Morgan in Orlando, Florida. He's an AI systems architect that's operating at the front edge of enterprise AI, multi-agent orchestration, and production-ready automation. This is what we're talking about because this is going beyond prototypes. He has architected autonomous agent systems with more than 20 specialized agents. So we're going to talk about this. He does a lot of this with no operator, like zero operator execution. This is big. He understands compliance, QA gates, and context architecture across more than 1,000 knowledge artifacts in AI, what we call driven SDLC transformation for large scale engineering teams. So I feel what makes his perspective especially valuable is that he understands both enterprise governance and autonomous agent design, and he knows what happens when AI looks successful on the dashboard but quietly fails in production. So today we will explore evaluation first architecture, failure engineering, trust, security, token economics, and what leaders must understand before scaling AI across regulated environments. So, Wilfred, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Grant, there. Thank you for having me on. And so, yes, my name's Wilfred Morgan. And uh, so I have been a technology professional for almost 20 years, well, actually 20 years. And how I started, uh, technology wasn't even my initial interest. I was studying international studies. And right around that time was the internet explosion. And I was just fascinated and I got pulled into it. And so my technology path is very self-taught, self-driven, figuring things out and breaking a lot of things there. And from that, I was working in the the banking industry, running technology platforms from there. And so regulation, security was a big thing. Internet banking was exploding, and so it wasn't about just securing your branch; it was securing your networks. Securing your platforms there. And so I had done that for a number of years, and then through technology consulting, I actually uh, latched on to software engineering. No, this was about, oh gosh, almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's strange. I went from help desk, system admin, managing an IT department, CIO, and then I got into software engineering and kind of took, I don't want to say a step back, but a step sideways
Hmm.
and started to learn how to build software, not just work with vendors who built the software. And so that was very enriching. And I started learning data science back when it was big data, and it was just machine learning and more conceptual. And so, from that process, I've been able to, I would say, become a jack of all trades in technology and master of none. And usually it's better to specialize. But because of that, where we are now with technology has been such uh, a blessing because I understand how different parts of it work. So then now taking AI and being able to, it's like accelerant. It
Yeah.
is so different the way I'm working now than I was even 2 years ago, even 2 years ago, 10 years ago. And it's exciting. But at the same time, you know, part of why I started to become vocal about the work I'm doing, and I've never been that. I'm not someone that gets out there. I'm too busy in the lab
Yeah.
tinkering and breaking things there. But I think there is so much that is happening right now that has such big impacts, and some of which we haven't even begun to really see yet. This is still the beginning. I said, okay, it's similar to what happened with the internet, and technology goes through these cycles there. But the difference is that, unlike other technology waves, the internet, the mobile wave, this is a much bigger, faster, and more dangerous game in technology.
I
Uh,
want to stop you there, and I want the audience to really lean in on what you're talking about. There are changes in technology over time that have marked the human experience, the cultural experience of being human and human behavior and what we do for work every day has changed or changes. When you think about the advent of just the computer itself or personal computing, as you stated, or the internet, mobile computing. Now we in the background, we've seen, like you brought up, big data, cloud computing. This is going on in the background of most everyday life. We're not realizing now, and I tell people all the time, you live in a digital reality now. You live and work and dwell in a digital reality. The richest man in the world now got rich on digital technology. He didn't reinvent money. He just gave you a different way of processing money. That was PayPal. Now he's done other things further than that. This is a platform shift. And so if you've been used to working in a certain way, and I gave this analogy earlier when I was talking to Wilfred, and I'll say it again now. It's like you can take a group of cows and put them out in the pasture and fence them in. They're going to stay in that particular area because there's a barrier there. But even when you remove that barrier because of habit, they're going to stay kind of there. Because of AI now, it's a platform shift. Think of this, that we've removed the barrier where enterprise AI was only available to the people with major resources. That same enterprise application, business intelligence, the tentacles of information and data are just ubiquitous throughout the planet now. That you can micro learn just about anything if you put forth the desire and you want to learn it. You don't have to have an Ivy League education, but you still need to understand context so you can ask the right questions. Help us understand from your lens, when I say we've removed these barriers and now AI is unleashed into the wild of human creativity, what are you seeing?
so I think what there's a couple of things. In terms of the accessibility of platforms that only the largest companies in the world have access to, that's a big deal. Of being able to, it's like saying that, before only the biggest companies are allowed to do business, let's say in this building, because they can afford the rent there. They're the only ones that can afford to set up shop on Fifth Avenue, because they can afford the rents, they have all the connections, they have the teams to be able to properly zone for it there. But now individuals that have something that the world could value can also set up shop along those same lanes there at a fraction of the cost there. This notion of it takes money to make money there is a falsehood. And never before in human history has it been more so the ability to create value out of seemingly nothing there, except your own drive and knowledge and applied knowledge
Mhm.
there. Like you don't have to worry about building something in order to get something, this massive thing in order to get something there. And that's what we're working with. And it's available to all. It really is available to
It's
all.
totally available, as you stated. Like when we started tinkering, I call it tinkering with cloud computing, and understand, hey, I don't have to buy a massive server, or I don't have buy my own IT data center, because that's what they were doing, right? You have to have enough money to invest and buy this whole, racks and racks of servers into your own data, which is very expensive to not just buy, but then to maintain. Well, guess what? You can swipe a credit card and then have access to the same kind of compute power that this guy who just spent $1 million, that was cloud computing. So now we're scaling up because of COVID. The good thing out of COVID, it exposed the world to technology applications, just like video conferencing. Like, wow, you know what? On load, and no one really knew this, on load, I can do video conferencing at scale when I got millions and millions of people on my platform. Nobody really, you couldn't test that. You couldn't, engineer that. But now you see it worked. So now you got a lot of people exposed to enterprise type applications that they weren't, even though it was on your phone for years. You could video conference on your cell phone, on your smartphone, but you weren't utilizing it. You didn't really need to do that, right? But now you had to do it during COVID. Then you start saying, well, what else can I do? They had this very stand about metaverse was, well, I can go inside this digital reality. Okay, that was kind of a cool, kind of a fad. But now we're seeing now with I can live and breathe in this thing all the time. The things that I'm doing on an everyday basis, whether it's simply writing an email all the way to enterprise agentic AI workflows, this is becoming real life. And you're like, okay, this is interesting. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Wilfred's telling me he went to school for international studies and affairs. He now became a CIO and now doing his own software engineering. He has no electrical background, electrical engineering background, yet he has expertise in this area. Talk to us about how this is such a game changing industry, and now that the everyday person has ability to actually create in these platforms also.
Yeah, I think what's so remarkable is, unlike practicing medicine, you're going to have to go to established institutions of knowledge there. And I know there's various forms of, types of medicine, established versus more holistic, but there still requires formal education, a formal process there. And you can learn some things, but there is barriers. There's real barriers, to it. Technology is not like that. And the thing is, it's never been like that. Steve Jobs started it in a garage.
Mhm.
Uh, and so that spirit is very much so. And now it's just hyper accelerated. All the things, that Grant, you're talking about how cloud computing has changed things, and it's been around for a while. Video conferencing has been around since the early 2000s, late 90s there. Um, but I think what's happening now is we're taking all these technologies that have been built over the last 25 years and we're stacking them. And now AI is able to then allow you to really use them in a much faster way with
Mhm.
more impact and with less resource out of pocket there. And to do so much, you've got so much technology available. And then AI allows you to be able to almost build your own team
Mhm.
that you can direct there. And so that's why, orchestration it's really one of the most powerful things about AI, is once you start to use it and organize it, orchestrate it in a way to do work that you don't have the time for, do work while you're working on one task, it can start to do other things and process there, and you start getting some strong results. Then you start to think, whoa, oh, wow, what you can start to bring out of your head into reality becomes much easier. You can start to
Mhm.
experiment faster, learn faster there. It is definitely, I think the best part of it for me is the acceleration. The internet was an accelerant in terms of access to information because I didn't have to get into a car or hop on a bus and get to the library and sift through all these books. I can now go through a lot more information and text faster. Now, AI then has the ability to have the work that you do uh, accelerate in a similar manner and also take information there. And that's what's really important. That's where the transformation uh, is happening and can happen there. And that's why there's so much excitement and so much money being poured into it because and it seems irrational, and I understand that. But it's part of the understanding of how things get done, how work is going to transform, and that's what's captured the attention
What
there.
you said there, I want people to really lean in. Work is transforming the way we work. And think about this. Think about then the beginning of the 2000s. How did you work? How many people were really utilizing Microsoft tools, PowerPoint, Word, these types of things. And before that, well, you didn't have to do all that, right? And you see it fundamentally changed how you had to work. You can't get a job now without having fundamental digital literacy, right? They're gonna look at you. If you can't open up a laptop and send an email and draft some kind of or work in a CRM system or anything like that, that's going to limit your ability to get a job. All right.
Exactly. Exactly.
AI is going to be on that level. Not, it is on that level. Meaning, and I want you to help people understand now that, okay, I think there's a lot of AI curiosity, and they might have dabbled in what we call large language models, generative AI. Like, hey, yeah, I see what he's talking about. I can access information quicker, better than just Google's 10 links on a search. I got that. I know that I can search for information and it can frame different types of text in a way that's very professional in manner. I get that. I understand that. Well, that's an engine. I call that the engine. When you get into the transmission of that kind of capability into what we call AI agents, and then we go to that next level of agentic AI, help people understand what you're talking about, that multiplicity and then acceleration of work that's now can be done at such scale that I don't think we're going to recognize the workplace by the end of this decade.
Right. Right. It's, I think in terms of, uh, when I try to explain uh, the impact of what the technology can do, and going from just prompt engineering, just
Mhm.
chat GPT is something versus having uh, your business, having your organization uh, being run on this technology. I think it's when you talk about agentic AI, versus prompt engineering, uh, agentic AI is now, it's not just producing a nicely worded resume, a nicely worded email. It is actually has the ability to execute work that a human person was doing, uh, and not just execute work, but also take information from one source and analyze information from a different source and then produce an input or an output, produce either some kind of report, answer a question you want, or they use that information to then more accurately execute what you want to do there. And that's what's really exciting there, is that it becomes uh, you have potentially exponential productivity
Mhm.
because the uh, the better data that you're working with, the more organized that you have your business with, AI allows reward for running your business properly. It rewards good data uh, in a way that you're able to um, not just execute, but make better decisions because you have a clearer idea of what is happening there. So, okay, here's an example in terms of the day in the life there. So, I love to read about technology, and I look into the latest news. Or I'm listening to podcasts, like Grant's there, and watching the YouTube videos there. And a lot of people in my position, when they absorb this news and information, though, the things they ask themselves are, well, okay, what is the important information that Grant is telling me of something I don't know? And then how is it relevant to what I'm doing? And then do I have to change what I'm doing relative to this new information?
Mhm.
So those things uh, would take time because you have to, process everything. You're going through you're reading the article, you're watching the YouTube video, or you're listening to the podcast on your way to work there.
Mhm.
And then you're thinking in your mind, okay, how does that relate to what I'm doing? Or is there any piece of information that's new? And those are things that, of course, will continue to do. But then making the switch of, okay, how is that going to change what I'm doing? Now, if you are a solo operator, with a very straightforward business, you can make that at a snap of a of your fingers there. But when you're working with a sophisticated business with multiple systems in it, there, you're going to have to talk to someone. You're going to have to, uh, okay, how are things going in this part of the business? Get their feedback, and then you can say, okay, take a look at what Grant has shown us in this his latest podcast and see how it's relevant. And then they're going to have to run with it, and you have to wait for them to get back to you. Uh, no joke, the ability to now, with AI tools and agentic AI in particular, uh, this transcript, you can use this transcript that we're having here and not only process, okay, summarize what Grant and Wilfred are talking about, at least the bullet points, and then you can just drill down. And then what's most important to me. But having agent systems that already know my business, this is
Yes.
the powerful thing. I don't have to just type it into ChatGPT. The agent system runs independently of the ChatGPT browser. It runs there and it already has the information of how your business is run, which is what we call context. And that is
Mhm.
that's the fuel that runs this, is the context. And it has to be the right fuel. You can't just serve it any old thing.
Oh no,
If it's a diesel engine and you're
got to
giving
be
it
premium.
gas, that's going to be a problem. And yes, it's got to be premium. And that's where having the good data, you get rewarded for that. But now imagine being able to then receive in your feed uh, this podcast, being able to get the transcript, and then the agent is reporting to you, okay, based on the new information in this latest podcast, in this latest article, here are the things that are new and important, and then here's how it affects your particular business. And depending on the rules that you have set up there, because AI agents then kind of act as kind of independent, very
Autonomous.
structured
Yeah.
workers. They're digital workers. And they can then say, look, um, continue with what you're doing, but change these things. That is powerful. And that can be as soon as you log into your laptop or hop into your phone and have that information available, but you have to set that up. That's
Yeah.
where the orchestration comes in. It's not you just inputting, it is now proactively giving you information there. And that is why the money's get coming in. That's why the biggest tech companies in the world are pouring money in because the enterprise, their customers, are looking to have that level of white glove service. This is
Hmm.
the opportunity for technology to provide white glove service for a business there. Uh, and that can be the difference between you having a successful fiscal quarter,
Yeah.
hitting your goals, or pivoting on an opportunity, or avoiding something that doesn't work. Oh, this is not working. We need to pivot there. And that is the money saved and the money made from that is it's massive.
Astronomical. I'm gonna stop
Yeah.
you there because this I want you got to lean in what Wilford just said, and a lot of this hinges on I call it legacy data and context because this is the problem. I would say what's the big problem that has to be solved in order for this what you just described to be successful. There's a lot of legacy data out there and bad data, just
Yeah.
garbage information. One of the things when ChatGPT and that kind of thing came out, it's ingesting internet data, which could be it's just bad water, put it like that, because there's just a lot of garbage out there. So if it doesn't have the right context, as Wilfred said, it doesn't understand that, good from bad. It's just taking information and trying to make the best out of it. So I think the most successful companies coming out of this, big, little, small, single person business, is the clean data you have, and that you're not having to bring forth legacy data that is not going to be beneficial for you, that's going to clog your systems because it can't, it has to fight through all of this, historical data that really is not beneficial. Who's going to win in that case? And I'm going to give you a case in point. True story. I worked for AT&T Lucent Avaya back in 2000, right?
Yeah.
And I worked in the telephony world, right? And we had big telephone systems, and they were analog systems. Some of them that became digital systems. They had a monopoly more or less on these type of big PSTN systems. PBXs is what we call them, right? And then voice over IP came out, right? That you can do voice telephony over a data network and not just a telephony network. It's the analog, the older systems. Well, what happened is that technology started to mature, is that the AT&T Lucent Avaya had to maintain those old legacy systems while still going forward with the newer voice over IP systems, where the newer companies, aka Cisco, CISCO, didn't have to maintain that older system. And the newer people that were getting on board and learning these new tech, well, they were the data people, not the telephony people, right? So what are they going to prefer? They prefer to do say this is just an application on the data network. Well, nobody in the telephone world wanted to hear that. Oh, what are you talking about? Well, that's exactly what it is. It's just packet technology, right? So, not to get too techy about it, is that Cisco did not have to maintain old legacy systems, and they were able to move quicker, faster, better with the newer tech that actually overcame the market and became the market leader. I'm going to say right now, the companies that have to maintain these old legacy systems are going to move slower, while the newer businesses can now say, hey, I can build flat and use this AI foundationally and this orchestration layer day one and outperform my competition. I want our small business owners to understand this, our solopreneurs, our mid-sized business to understand you have an incredible opportunity if you follow what Wilfred just said. If your data is right, your infrastructure is right, you can orchestrate because you can take bad data and run it into a tree.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Uh, and I think actually, and this is a great point because the telephony transformation, that's a great analogy because before you were either a telco guy or a network engineering guy, and it converged into one. And and it's funny because Lucent Ivaya was the lab that developed the technology that Cisco used.
That's
uh,
something.
and so they were now getting competed on their own technology that their labs had developed there, and that's the real irony. And this is the thing that keeps businesses up at night, is because we are now at that inflection point where if you, like Grant said, if you do not adopt this technology, you can get left behind. And I think the difference between the other technology evolutions that we've experienced is that this is happening much quicker than anything before it.
Right.
The speed of the transformation, and that's why I said the game has gotten bigger. It's faster, but it's also more dangerous there. And it's one of those, you could give yourself some time before you had to take out your PBX old legacy telephone system and switching over to IP. But now the cost of waiting too long can be really high because the first few businesses that figure out how to really harness this
Hmm.
are going to explode so much faster. So this race is really, we're in that part now of yes, we're still in the frontier part, but this is definitely an extremely high stakes, high speed race there. Because the rewards of getting it right, or at least getting it right enough to
Hmm.
get to the next level, it's too big. And it can be one of those situations where uh, it's not even can be. There are going to be companies, well known companies that we all know, and they are not going to be around.
I
They
remember
are,
Sears. I
yes,
remember Blockbuster. I remember.
exactly. that's why that's why there's so much attention there. And I think one of the things that uh, we can also dive into, Grant, is the dangerous part of
Yeah,
this
go ahead.
game.
Yeah, let's do it.
And so one of the things that has kind of spurred me to be more vocal is, well, one, there is a lot of opportunity and it's exciting. Uh, there's opportunity and there's access
Hmm.
to more people than ever before. And that is great. But also, there's a lot of danger. Now, part of it is the information itself, the hype cycles. Who do I trust with this? Um, is this like the Terminator? Are they going to take over? I mean, it taps into fears. There's a lot of distortion, and there are people that are trying to profit off of that fear and that
Hmm.
distortion of information there. And that's the part that is really concerning. The other part too is that now, going into medicine and healthcare, there are right ways to do things and there are wrong ways to do things. And okay, if I try to do something in Microsoft Word that doesn't work, okay, I may get an error, or I may have a typo, or formatting gets a little weird.
Hmm.
Okay, no problem. when it comes to making an error in, let's say, surgery, now we've got a very, very different consequence there. And AI, although it accelerates and enhances our opportunity and the benefits there, if it is done incorrectly, the consequence can be devastating.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the things that in the frontier part, I am making every mistake in this field there.
Learn
Oh
from
my,
me, right?
crash and burn, absolutely. It is the best way I try to explain it to non-tech people is I'm in this jungle, me and a couple of us frontier architects and engineers are cutting through this jungle, this
Yeah.
massive jungle. There is no roads, nothing is being paved
No
here.
rules, no
No,
nothing. Yeah.
no traffic lights, no electricity there, and we're just cutting through this jungle, and we're getting bitten by snakes and mosquitoes. And I've got my foot caught in a couple of ditches there, and to pull myself out there, it's like okay. And part of what concerns me is that it is easy to produce results. But Grant, you said something, and I think it's important to really impart in the viewers there. If you do not have knowledge of what you're trying to do, fundamental knowledge, and then you put it in the hands of AI, if you don't know how to cook
Mm-hmm.
and you ask AI for a recipe, how do you know what you're going to get is going to taste good or not kill you? And I think that's the thing that's really important is that AI can't be a shortcut for not knowing anything. You have to be knowledgeable in your field. You have to understand your business or your practice. You have to have that field of expertise. Now, the great thing is that for those that have that experience, now is a great time to jump on it. You can create so much more value now than you could 3 years ago with what you already know, with what you've spent a lifetime of learning and perfecting and improving over time and being able to do that. And we're going to need you. Those of us that are implementing these systems, we need the experts in the field to make sure that what these digital workers are producing are accurate there. So one of the things I've started to do, Grant, is I'm taking all my learnings. I've been journaling my
Yeah.
journey through
Yeah.
AI, and I've captured it onto my website there, and I'm sharing posts through LinkedIn of what I've gone through, so that people can see and say, "Oh, I've gone through the same thing," or "Ooh, that's something to look out for." And I particularly want to help people avoid the traps and the pitfalls there.
Don't step up.
Ex- and
Yeah.
then to say, okay, you're a business owner or you're an experienced professional. Where do I start? This person is saying this thing, this person is saying this thing there. Okay. Because I've got, my wife is asking me questions about AI there. I've got friends and family or whatnot.
Mhm.
And so I said,
Yeah.
okay, let me start to put information together, help them distill what are fundamental information that's not hype driven,
Mhm.
uh, and coming from a place of I'm not selling a course.
Right. Right.
uh, this is just I to be a responsible citizen. This is information that people should know when they
Mhm.
want to understand this technology. And what I also realized is that to help mitigate the danger to not shoot yourself in the foot, uh, I started to say, okay, what are the things that one should look out for
Yeah.
when they're building the system there? And so something I had done recently, released, is a framework that a professional, a business owner, a team lead in a company can use to see where they are in the AI spectrum and to think about, and I try to distill it to four principles of what you should think about, regardless of what your industry is
Yes.
and the particular, whether you're using Claude, Chat GPT, those are tools, but there should be a fundamental understanding of how to use those tools in a way that's responsible, that's safe, that gets you the results you need there,
Mhm.
especially in a regulated industry there. You
Right.
can't
Right.
afford to improvise.
No.
When you need those checklists there. When you're flying a plane, you need to have precision systems there. And in fact, actually, where I actually based my framework from is uh, aviation, aviation
Mm.
engineering
Good
metrics
one.
there,
Yes.
because they can't afford to get it wrong. Just like the medical field, we cannot afford to just, okay, wing it there. um, and so, those what I would call disciplines are, as you're building the system, you have to think about what can go wrong.
Exactly.
And you have to now start to think about that sooner rather than later. AI will help you to execute a task faster, but there's a price, Grant. And the price is you now have to give yourself more time to think through what you want to do. You can't
Hmm.
rush that part.
Right.
And so the first question you have to ask is, what can go wrong?
Hmm.
And give yourself time to do that. And that's why you still have to know your business. You
Yeah.
can't blindly do this there. And then second, you have to say, okay, if something goes wrong, who gets hurt and
Hmm.
how badly
Hmm.
there. And so and this is why using regulated industries, using guidelines that need to be bulletproof, such as aviation, such as the medical field there. Uh, they look at what the consequence of getting it wrong
Love
is.
it.
And that's
Love
the right approach when you're
That's it.
working with AI.
Yeah.
Even if you're in an industry that isn't regulated, I really employ people to approach it with that mindset there. Because unlike other technology where you can continue to just check on it because you're using the technology, but you're always in the driver's seat. Now we're talking about handing something to someone else, like driving a self driving car. If you're the one driving it, you can react, you can make adjustments there. But if you are now going to program something to drive the car for you, and the car is a wonderful tool, and it's also a dangerous tool if used
And
incorrectly.
correctly.
So
Yes.
you have to be more thorough about doing that kind of thought process there. Um, and then I think the other thing too is, unlike previous technologies that we've worked with, Grant, AI has errors that are very subtle.
Hmm.
If I got something wrong with my PowerPoint presentation, or if I'm trying to go to a website that doesn't exist there, I'm just going to get an error.
Yeah.
I may not understand what that error message is. Like, oh, okay, it's just, hence that's why you call help desk. I got this weird thing. My mother's calling me. It's not doing this thing. I have this weird message there. And that's fine. Okay, you've just stopped it there. But AI can give you errors and it looks right.
Yes. Yeah. I think a lot of people they hallucinate or it believes its own hallucinations
Exactly.
in a way that it's very confident in its mistakes. Right.
Exactly. Exactly. And, as humans, we attach trust and competency to confidence.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, these are signals that we have been, for generations, we've been conditioned to look towards the confident as competence there.
Mm.
And sometimes that has bitten us. because we know someone can sound confident and not
You
be correctly.
completely, yeah, yeah.
AI is like that, but it's more accelerated. It's
Let's do
happening
this
more
because we're
often.
getting toward the end of our interview, which is this has been enlightening. I want you to, on this last piece, think through like a small business owner, right? They got 3 to 5, employees. They see like, hey, we can act like a company that's 15 to 20 because now I can automate certain, and I say back end processes. To your point, you have to understand where you need this technology deployed. You need to understand where is the friction in your business. What can take that friction out, and it's going to open up new opportunities for you. Now, you said something, and you really said something that the audience has to understand because speed can be good and bad. Acceleration, just like when you're driving a car, sometimes it's great to be going 100 miles an hour, but not all the time. Sometimes you need to slow that thing down to 20 miles an hour, depending on the situation, right?
Yes.
So just because you can speed things up doesn't automatically mean that that's a good thing, right? So if your employees are operating at a certain capability, and that's a speed, right? It's a velocity. So your business runs at a certain velocity. So if you speed up certain aspects of what they're already doing, that's going to throw that harmony off. And getting back to what you were saying earlier, if you don't take this through and articulate the price, sometimes you don't know what you don't know because, as Wilfred said, he is a pioneer. He's going out there and he's hacking through the forest. He stopped for us today and we made a campfire out in his wilderness. He's like, okay, guys, I'm gonna stop and but he knows this because you don't know, he doesn't know when he begins his journey again tomorrow what he may encounter. Because now your business has been running at a certain speed and velocity. You're about to change that speed and velocity by automating certain things potentially. And have you really gone through it? So for a checklist, if you can give that small business owner like, hey, look, and you gave us some of that, I need to get, process my AR better, accounts receivable, or I need to
Right.
understand my customer better. What are some of those things like? Here are the things I want you to do and do today before you go out into this wilderness, your own wilderness, and start chopping down the forest.
Right. Actually, that's a great question there. I think equally as important as learning how to use the tool of AI, I business owners and professionals are also going to have to really stretch their skills of systems thinking. So, what do we mean by systems thinking? So, when you talk about as a business owner, you have to slow down before you really dive into this tool. And I know it's tempting to type it into ChatGPT. It gives you some answers. Ooh, I can start doing this right now. And then you copy and paste those answers into your email or your document. You send it out, and things happen. And next thing you know, you're now knee deep in your chat thread, copying, pasting things, and going through. And oh, wait a minute, I have to go back because I didn't tell ChatGPT this other thing, and then that can affect the marketing campaign you're trying to put out there, or this product you're trying to get there, or setting up this chatbot maybe to deal with your customers. You now have to be disciplined enough to take a step back and to think through, okay, what is my customer journey from start to finish? And you have to be as detailed as possible because this is where doing it too soon, I think it was Klarna that did it too soon. They're like, we're going to fire all the human agents and then just replace it with AI agents there or whatnot. And that's a cautionary tale there is that they didn't think the decision makers did not engage enough with the people that do the day-to-day work to really understand what that means there. where are the parts of your customer journey. So let's say you want to use AI to be able to answer customer calls there,
Mhm.
customer emails, customer calls. Okay, that's great. You now have to, what are the questions that they ask? How are you going to give them the answers? And what if they have something that's a little bit different than what you're expecting? And then especially when it comes to customer service, I personally don't want to remove all the humans from it. They just need to be placed at the right checkpoints in that
Yeah.
customer journey and to really enhance that. So that's one of the prices is
Hmm.
having the discipline and giving yourself the space to sit down and talk that through. And if you have a staff of two or three, they have to be part of the process there.
Thank you.
That I can't this is not a top down endeavor. And I know there are a lot of think pieces and business articles that talk about, oh, you have to get it engaged and then you just give it lip service. The thing about AI is that it will cut through your BS. It will cut through your BS brochure, marketing brochure there. Because you can say, oh, I talked to my staff about it and I really got their opinions and we've really incorporated there, but you really didn't. That's
Mm.
going to bubble up so fast. So you now have to do that work. That's where
Hmm.
the work is. Uh, and and so systems thinking, and they're going to start throwing that. And then for those that are interested in learning AI and how do I get into this? Because that's an important thing too.
Yeah.
Grant and I have been
Yeah.
talking about, and this is important to people who are on the fence about it. There, I think more so than learning how ChatGPT works. And the more that you understand it, the better you'll be able to use the tool effectively because you know what it can and can't do.
Hmm.
But to also be systems thinking, you don't just think about, I need to get this task done. You want to be able to look at someone's business or business you're interested in getting into or that you want to work for and think about how that business makes money, how it provides value to a customer. And to ask that, you have to have that level of curiosity and to ask all the different parts. It doesn't matter that you're just an accountant. Oh, I just do accounts receivable. I just do this process there, or I'm in delivery fulfillment. That's all I do. No, you have to look at the whole process. Those
Everything.
who know how to ask, uh, those those who know how to think in that way. Well, and Grant said something extremely important for everyone: the right questions because this really is all about the right questions, which is why you still have to know your discipline. You still have to
Thank
know
you.
your business
Domain
there.
authority is king. And if you're an expert in what you do, and you need to still be an expert, you're not outsourcing your expertise in what you do. You
Yeah,
that you want to enhance it, right? You want to enhance it,
exactly.
and that's the
Exactly.
whole thing. And we have to conclude here. And great answer. Great answer. And I want people to really dive into this more because you gave a knowledge library that you build out because you know people are as they go deeper and deeper into their own forest, so to speak. You've already built out some resources that they can start to understand and know how to drive this brand new Ferrari that we're going to give to everybody, right? But you got to know how you got to know how to operate it and think things through. Systems thinking, I love how you said that. I want to add on there, you have to understand critical thinking. You have to understand design thinking and analytical thinking. This is where we're coming up the stack. You can't just information and data are going to be they're commodities. But what's going to be valuable is the context of those things that we're talking about. That makes your human world valuable. I'm going to hire you because you have a domain expertise that you bring to the table. And then if we can AI enable that domain expertise, we're powerful at this point, right? Right. So, you don't want a misfired robot operating in your shop.
Exactly
So
there.
how do they get first of all, how do they get in contact with you and how do they attain this type of knowledge library that you have?
Sure. The easiest way is so I put everything together into my website, and it is wilfredmorgan.com. WILFREDMORGAN.com. There, and I have the articles there. I even have a short 5 minute test or an assessment tool to see where you are, and then based on the answers you give, it can give you your particular roadmap of, okay, this is where you are in your AI journey. Here's some recommended steps there or whatnot. And and if you have any further questions there, I believe that the information that I'm providing should allow 95% of professionals and business owners to at least have a good starting point.
Hmm.
That's, cut through
That's
all
it.
the hype. And they're going to get sound information that they should be able to run with there. And if there are any questions or anything, I can be reached through there as well there or whatnot. This is too important to just hoard this information. I think the more that people know, it does two things. One, the more that you learn how these systems work and to use it properly, we're going to have better systems. So
Yes.
we all benefit. The the better that people execute on this technology
Mhm.
uplifts the world. And then two, and this is most important, it eliminates the fear that's
Yeah.
happening of AI is going to take jobs and AI is just going to make things worse. And it's just everything is bad, bad, bad. And it puts people in a place of helplessness,
Right.
fear and helplessness there. And I think, and that's wrong. And so it's for me sharing this knowledge that's available to everyone
Yeah,
and accessible for
normalize it,
everyone.
understand it. It is a machine. It's a tool. It's a very powerful tool, but we have to know we have because this is one of those few technologies I would say that actually not only affects of itself the technological area, but it affects the human cultural experience. That's a big thing. So that's where, people get afraid and it's like this is changing. You're moving my rice bowl, right? Well, that is true. But if you know how to drive it, just like the internet changed a lot of lives, mobile computing changed a lot of lives.
Exactly.
All these things, yes, you say it's going to change. Yeah, it is going to change, but you have control of what it changes into for you, right?
Right.
And that's because you're familiar with it. You're not afraid of it. You understand what it does and doesn't do and how it can enhance your particular life. And you remember the environment around you is also utilizing it. You don't want to be the person that, still got a slide rule and everybody else has got, a Texas Instrument and a calculator, right? So,
Exactly.
so you need to know where this is sitting. I want to encourage your entire audience to see all our episodes and also go to my website at fivestarbdm.com. I have my AI bot there. I call it Sentinel. If you want to learn more about branding, know more about marketing of itself, I have my AI bot there specifically for that reason to educate people along these lines so they understand it better. And this is where I think our to your point, our systems will get better because we have better information and better knowledge about, oh, I now understand that better. This is going to be smoother instead of it being a quonky type situation. So I think over time, this will be a better experience overall for the human population. So thank you again for being on the show, Wilford, and we'll definitely catch up again.
Yes, definitely. Grant, thank you for having me there. We'll
Oh, you're
talk
most
soon.
welcome. Thank you. Bye bye.